Influence. If you want to build a solid business coaching practice, influence is the key ingredient. That's what we're discussing today on this video training. BJ O'Neill here with Business Coach Mastery. And we've just had an election, and I have a reason why this training matters right now. And so during the last few weeks, I have seen several people that I know with pictures with Donald Trump. And just events, some were recent, some were in the last couple of years at events and whatnot. And it began to kind of make me think that, hey, I'm not that far away from people who know people in the White House or people in Washington. And so you probably have heard, maybe you're familiar or you remember maybe as when you were younger, the game, 7 degrees to Kevin Bacon, right? And the concept is this: what if you're only a couple of people away, a few people away from people that of authority, of influence, business owners, CEOs, leaders in your community? Just like my thought was like, hey, I'm not that far away from those who know those in Washington. And this is not about a political thing. It's just all about influence and about who you're connected to, but why you get connected to them and how to do it in a way that builds a long-lasting business coaching practice. It is by far, influence is the key ingredient, okay? And so here's the, there's 3 things that I'm going to share with you that I think when you master these, our community is called Business Coach Mastery for a reason. Our desire, our goal on the activities that we're doing should be about mastering them over time. You master them, you refine them, and you master them. Like that should be the goal on the way you communicate, on the conversations that you have, how you're viewed in the community, how you present yourself. Like these things, matter. You can't just go out and do it. Those who do it without strategy, those who do it without strategically thinking, how can I master this one element of the process? Simply leave it on the table, and they're not going to have the business that they really want to have. Most coaches start a business coaching practice for flexibility, income, and the ability to control your own domain. I like that's especially with men. I think that's a huge piece to the puzzle when it comes to the things that we're driving for. Well, influence is a bedrock of being able to do that. Let's look at when you look at in the Bible, Barnabas, right, and how he mentored Paul, and the influence that he used to do that. Number one, he was never seeking like the limelight, right? He was propping him up, influencing him, investing in him, never seeking for the limelight of any kind. He let Paul emerge above himself. He came to serve, but not to be served. That's a big one. As we're building our practice, it's like the intention that we have. Are we serving others? Are we just looking for clients? We're going to discuss that here in just a second. Barnabas remained authentic, vulnerable. He was very transparent. If you're not familiar fully with Barnabas' story, I encourage you to go look at it. And because as Christ followers, as believers, as we're building a coaching practice, we use the Bible to say, okay, where are the pieces that I can learn from and draw from that teach me how to do what it is, even in the marketplace? We often talk about ministry in the marketplace where there's no margin, there's no mission, but we've got to lead with strategy, all right? So influence is the topic. That should be your goal, is that we're not just seeking relationships, we want to influence those around us. Here's how this works. 3 things I want you to really consider, and this makes the process simple. Because we're not just going out and, picking up the phone and calling people. We're not just meeting people. We're not just going to networking events. We're not just doing workshops. Those are byproducts of the activities that we are going to do. But when we go do them without the strategy of influence, we're going to miss out on a ton, all right? So number 1 is your intention. You got to know in your core, your DNA, your purpose of the intention of building the relationship. This is the entire sales versus service. This is the entire process of sales versus influence, meaning we don't want to go out and sell business coaching services. That's not the goal. Now, that's going to be a byproduct, although I would make the argument that when you're leading with influence, it's about making the investment to truly help someone grow profitability in their business. your investment to them, how you build a relationship to them, the byproduct is growth. But when you're selling coaching services, it puts us in a position to be viewed, because it probably is true, that I'm just trying to get a client and I'm just trying to make money. Okay. Now, nothing wrong with making some money. Got to make a living, got to pay the bills, you got to give back. You can't do those things without resources. That's what money does. But people can, especially today, they can sense if you're genuine, they can sense if you're transparent, and you cannot do those things without sincerity. And that starts with your intention. So as we're building our persona, we're building our message, we're rehearsing and practicing and thinking through and praying about how we're going to interact with that prospect, this lunch, this joint venture partnership. It's got to first start with intention, okay? Period, intention, intention, intention. And so you want to begin to program your mind. I would encourage you to write out a few different statements about what your intention is in building influence with those that you are interacting with on a consistent basis. This is going to help to build or rather program your mind, your heart, your purpose, your why, so that when you're doing it, you truly you care about that individual, what they're going through. The second thing is, so your first one is intention. Your second one is influence everyone, okay? So when we look at, sales versus, just influence and relationship building, when we're not careful, we're just selling, we skip over people in the process trying to get to a business owner, a leader, or whoever it may be, not valuing people along the journey. That's a mistake. Let me give you an example. If you are interacting with a business owner or a CEO, their assistant, you want to also influence them, build relationship with them. Remember, they're gatekeepers, and this isn't about just to get the gate open. It's that when you sincerely care about the individual, look, everybody is God's people. I don't care who you are, right? But when we care about them and we're truly invested into them and we're interested in what they're having to say, that relationship not only can open up the gate, but it's also setting stones of how people see you, view you, talk about you, think about you. And it can expand their mindset around, man, that individual really cares about me. Because look, we're all created in a way that we want to be cared for. We want to be respected. Well, if we're just treating the gatekeepers as, just what their role is, that's going to communicate a lack of value. And what will happen, that individual will communicate that to their boss or whoever it may be on their team. And that can hurt your efforts. All right. So we want to care about them. The people that you're building a relationship with, maybe you're networking, maybe the referrals. Not everybody, and actually more of the people, this is really key, the more of the people that you interact with will not become clients. And that's good, because if you really want to build a long-lasting, long-term business coaching practice, whether you make 6 figures, 7 figures, whatever that number is for you, and what you need and what your resources need to provide for your family and your future, it's about growing your network. And so I'm perfectly fine sometimes of lay my head on the pillow at night knowing I made an investment and an impact in someone, regardless if they're a client. The clients are a byproduct of all the investments that we're making. But that starts with influencing everyone, listening to what they're saying. We care about them. We walk away from a conversation, from a networking event. They should never feel like that they don't care about me, or that person is just looking for a client. That person is just in sales mode. If that's what they're sensing, and by the way, they will, if that's what they're sensing, then we're doing it wrong, okay? And when it just is what it is, all right? So the first thing is our intention. We want to purposely plan that intention into our DNA and our core of why we are doing what we're doing. Secondly, we want to have an attitude of influencing everyone. Every single person there needs to feel extremely valued. Here's what's going to happen. You want to talk about referrals. Referrals are, by and large, one of the biggest ways to build a coaching business in different ways. It's just people, you want to get a lot of referrals, start valuing everyone. Start valuing even the types of clients that will never become clients, and it's not the wrong fit for you. When you're spending time with them, helping them solve problems, making investments into them, you care about them, they're going to send you people along the journey. It'll feel like things are just landing in your lap. That's not true. It's because of the effort, the energy, and the time that you're spending and the intention in making an investment into those, okay? The third is a paradigm shift to influence and educate the prospect, all right? So you have intention, I'm influencing everyone, and now when I get to the prospect, the actual person that is or has the potential to become my client, this is the person I'm looking for, they fit the profile, they fit the avatar, all those things. Again, we get a little excited. We're like, man, this could be a really good relationship. Well, that may be true, but how you treat them, handle them throughout the cycle of the prospecting phase is going to be critical. And so it leads with two things, influence and education, all right? And so this is helping them to recognize, hey, did you know this? Like, let me share something that you may not have realized about. It could be business growth, it could be their industry or whatever. It just depends upon what it is. You're listening with intent, truly listening to kind of what's going on in their world, but not listening to just jump in there and tell them how you can solve it, to just listen, to understand. Sometimes they're going through things that we really don't understand, and it's going to require another level of listening to just hear. You know, while we certainly want to help solve problems, sometimes before we get to the problem-solving part, it's just empathy. So, man, that's a tough situation. How long has that been going on? Man, I hear you. I wish you weren't going through that. Right? It's a dialogue of where they're connecting with you because you care, right? So the education part comes in, and this is what we coach inside of our Business Coach Mastery community, is that as you're building the relationship with them, you're making the investment, you're starting to get on the same page, there's alignment with the relationship. The goal is to do something that's kind of unique, which is to move them into what we call the aha zone, all right? Here's what happens for all of us. When we lack knowledge, typically our emotions and what's the word? Our anxieties are really, really high. Until we begin to have education, until we begin to learn, until we begin to understand. Well, when we begin to do that, the only way to do that is that we have to learn whatever it is that we're looking to learn. Well, as we become experienced, educated, understanding, then the anxiety begins to decrease, and we move into the aha zone because we're starting to get answers. We're starting to see things with clarity. Things that have been foggy kind of go away. Well, when you're at the helm, you've spent time building a relationship, you're influencing them, you're making an impact, you're starting to educate them to reduce their anxiety, move into the aha zone. Here's what happens. Here's the byproduct of all this. They begin to see you as the guide, okay? Meaning, it's not about us. We're not the hero. They're the hero, okay? We're just guiding them to this point. And so when your intentions are aligned in the right place, that look, I'm going to guide this individual. I may not even know all the answers yet. I'm just going to figure it out with them. Because here's what most people make the mistake, and I used to do this myself years ago, is that I approach the relationship as to be the person that is solving the problem. Well, problem solving doesn't mean I'm solving the problem. Problem solving means I'm leading them to the solution. When you're leading them to the solution, that becomes you're the guide, and people love people who guides them to a solution. Because if we're not careful, if we solve the problem, then we stand a risk of just being know-it-all, expert, whatever. And while those aren't necessarily wrong, the way that they view us will shift. So we want them to be able to see them as their guide. And when they do that, that's when things turn around and you become the hunted. Hey, could you show me what this should look like? Can you help me see what I need to do? And when you start to get those kinds of questions, you're becoming their guide, you're deepening the relationship, and it's all from a standpoint of intention, in the influence with everyone around you, and the paradigm shift to educate them, to move them into the aha zone, okay? This does not happen overnight. And by the way, you're going to have new relationships. I'm going to meet some new people today. I met some new people last night. Went to dinner with a few friends that brought a few friends, and there were some high profile influencers that I did not know were going to come. So we all have a chance all the time to make an influence, to learn, to listen, to meet new people all along the journey. And every day is an opportunity. But when we're so myopic in our focus that we're sales, 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 client, 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 we miss all this other goodness of relationships that are happening that can point you to other people. Okay? Hope that makes an impact for you. I hope that helps you recognize that business growth of any kind, especially growing a business coaching practice, it's a marathon. It's not the sprint. You've heard that term before, but it's really, really true. And so, yep, I know you need clients today, but you cannot operate in desperation mode. You cannot operate in a mindset that of negativity. You can't operate in a mindset that's all about me. You cannot operate in a mindset that simply means I've got to find a client, got to find a client, find a client. Get to say that 5 times. And while we want those to be byproducts of the efforts that we're doing. So if you really want to make a significant impact and make a really good living doing this, connect with people, influence them, educate everyone around you, become a leader in your community. You do that consistently over time. You spend the next 90 days mega dedicated to meeting, connecting, lunches, coffees, conversations, text, emails, the whole thing. I mean, it will blow your mind. Blow your mind on the amount of people that you'll connect with and the clients that you can get. All right. Until next time, take care.